Ihama, President of the International School of Greatness, Executive Director, Canadian Congress of Inclusive Diversity and Workplace Equity. He is going to moderate the next section, or the next session, which is entitled Bold Entrepreneurs, Fostering Sustainable Wealth Creation in Africa and the Caribbean. So, I understand that Mr. Ihama is online. Mr. Ihama, are you with us?
Yes, I'm right here.
Wonderful. Great. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the proceedings to Mr. Ihama, who is going to moderate the next session, which is Bold Entrepreneurs, Fostering Sustainable Wealth Creation in Africa and the Caribbean. Over to you, Mr. Ihama.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Well, our protocols observe, standing on existing protocol. Before I bring in the next speaker so we can have this exciting conversation, I must say, I would love certainly to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Marlene Street Forrest for always involving me in my organization in this premier conference. This is my third time at the conference. I've come to know her well and her team, and I'm so glad that we surprised her, I think, in 2020 with the International School of Greatness Business Leader of the Decade. Marlene, Neville, Charlene, Angela, and the amazing team at the Jamaican Stock Exchange. Thank you. Thank you for always raising the bar of excellence, not just in the region, but globally. Thank you very much. And if there are people there, give her and the team a round of applause. Very important. We never do this enough to appreciate those who make the effort to make things happen. But let's get into it. Sustainable development is an important imperative for wealth creation in Africa and the Caribbean. The service sectors in these regions have the potential to significantly drive sustained economic growth and structural transformation. This will require the alignment of policies to build integration of the services sector and other sectors of the economy, especially manufacturing. Several services are likely to exert positive spillover effects on other sectors of the economy, like ICT, finance and infrastructure, but also distribution and logistics. The cost of finance and access to finance, however, are key impediments to firm productivity and performance, not just in the Caribbean, but around the world and certainly in Africa as well. So as indicated, my name is Alex Ihama. I'm the Executive Director of the Canadian Congress on Inclusive Diversity and Workplace Equity, which is one of the largest platforms advocating for social justice and economic empowerment of minoritized people, especially blacks and indigenous people. I'm also the President of International School of Greatness. Because the next speaker we're about to bring in is one of Africa's greatest heroes, it is a great honor for me, therefore, to be introducing him today and moderating this session on the topic of bold entrepreneurs, fostering sustainable wealth creation in Africa and the Caribbean. Indeed, the world is longing for bold entrepreneurs to emerge, certainly more so in Africa and the Caribbean. Therefore, if there was ever a time for business leaders, as we are gathered here today, certainly business leaders in Africa and across the Caribbean, to rise above the confines of profitable growth, fearlessly, boldly, and sacrificially to a broader concern of humanity, it is now. And for me as an executive coach working with executives, I think there's no other time. In fact, what set apart bold entrepreneurs from mere businessmen and women are their tireless, unstoppable effort to equip and empower younger entrepreneurs to also contribute to the GDP of their nation. Distinguished delegates of this year's conference, there is no one I know in the world who is doing that on an unprecedented scale and groundbreaking dedication and remarkable commitment like the next speaker. Mr. Tony Elumelu is the founder and chairman of Hayes Holding and Hayes Oil and Gas in Nigeria, the chairman of the United Bank of Africa, UBA, and the chairman of Transcorp Nigeria. And also, this one I love the best, the founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, widely acknowledged as the most prominent champion of entrepreneurship in Africa and one of the richest and most influential men on the African continent, Tony Elumelu's empire spans financial services, hospitality, power, energy, technology, and the healthcare sector, many of which are listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Mr. Elumelu led another bank to acquire UBA while it was struggling. And today, UBA now operates in 20 countries across Africa, the United Kingdom, and France, and is the only African bank with a commercial deposit-taking presence in the United States. The Tony Elumelu Foundation, which he started in 2010, is now the leading philanthropy in Africa, empowering young African entrepreneurs from all 54 African countries. In 2021 alone, the foundation disbursed $24.7 million US to 5,000 African small and mid-sized entrepreneurs. While he will be addressing today the topic, bold entrepreneurs, fostering sustainable wealth creation in Africa and the Caribbean. Mr. Elumelu's participation at this regional investment conference is timely and significant as Africa and the Caribbean continue to aggressively strengthen their relationships through trade and investment. Mr. Elumelu's business and foundation are inspired by an economic philosophy which he calls Africapitalism, which positions the private sector and, most importantly, entrepreneurs as the catalyst for the socio-economic development of the African continent. Of course, he sits on several board and sector boards around the world, including World Economic Forum, Community of Chairmen, and the Global Board of the United Nations Generation Unlimited. In 2020, he was one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world, recognized for his business leadership and economic empowerment of young Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, joining this premier prestigious and exclusive conference all the way from Nigeria, please help me to welcome the person I consider one of the world's boldest entrepreneur, Mr. Tony Elumelu. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yama. Good to meet you, and I feel highly honored and flattered for all the great things you've said today. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Kingston, Jamaica. From Lagos, it is good afternoon. Allow me to start by recognizing my brother and friend, the most honorable Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica. Let me also recognize the Prime Ministers of Caribbean states present here today. Our chief host and friend, Dr. Marion Forrest Street, for organizing this event, which is a premier investment and capital market conference in the region. I thank Dr. Forrest for inviting me to speak at this event. And, it's important to me because Jamaica is a country that I admire a lot and I love to visit. I'd like to also apologize for not being physically present with you in Jamaica. This is due to the pandemic. I, however, have resolved to travel to Jamaica in Q1 2022, first to physically visit the Prime Minister, and two, to see all of you and further explore ways in which we can accelerate cooperation between Africa, the Caribbean, and the Black diaspora. We share so much in terms of history and opportunity. Having traveled widely across the world, I know firsthand the importance of collaboration in trying to achieve goals and objectives. My name, as Ziana said, is Tony Elumelu. He actually has done all the introduction. I'm an African, born and bred. I've worked in Africa all my life, invested in the continent, and have created businesses and institutions that have helped to transform lives of Africans and their communities. I have often said that the capital market is the engine of capitalism. A well-regulated, responsible capital market is of positive benefit to an economy. Properly run, it can democratize wealth and sustain growth, whilst acknowledging the role of the state to provide an enabling environment. As we all know now, private sector prosperity leads to wealth creation for all. Wealth creation for economic and social benefits of everyone. In fact, in what I do, this is what I call Afri-capitalism. Afri-capitalism positions the private sector, and most importantly, entrepreneurs, as a catalyst for the social and economic development of the African continent. Business needs to do well and to do good. This is why we must commend Dr. Forrest Street and her team for the impressive work they have done in raising the profile of the Jamaican Stock Exchange. They have helped over 80 companies raise capital through the exchange and have a stock exchange that is valued at over $16 billion. They have helped develop entrepreneurs and their businesses. I speak today as an entrepreneur that benefited from the capital markets, the Nigerian Stock Exchange in particular. When we started, we needed money to advance our growth, money to prove our concept. It was made possible when we came to the capital market to raise money. And so I speak as one that knows the essence, true essence of the capital market. And I commend this to all our friends in Jamaica, aspiring entrepreneurs, and those who are in business already that want to scale to the next level. Today, I sit as the chairman of Health Holdings, family-owned investment management firm that has interest in the financial services, power, oil and gas, real estate, and hospitality, and of course, healthcare. We are long-term investors in these key sectors of the African economy. Our objective is to improve lives and transform Africa, to be role models in business, in governance, and in philanthropy. The financial services investment we have made is huge. Today, I chair the board of the leading Pan-African financial institution, United Bank for Africa. UBA, as my introducer said, is present in 20 African countries and in key financial centers of New York, Paris, London, Grand Cayman Island, not too far from you there, and most recently, Dubai. UBA is the only African bank with a deposit-taking license in the United States of America, having scaled the most stringent regulatory requirements of the U.S. financial services regulators. We have a customer base in excess of 25 million and counting across the world. We are not yet in the Caribbean, but this is something that we will explore when I come to Jamaica physically with the CEO of our UBA Americas operations. Power, oil, and gas investments is another area of our interest. Power, access to electricity, robust, plentiful, and accessible is key to our economy. I invest in this sector for financial and social reasons. Our portfolio includes Transcorp Power with 2 power plants with installed capacity to generate 2,000 megawatts of electricity. As oil and gas has significant interest in the oil sector producing currently over 50,000 barrels of oil on a daily basis, with a 2P reserve that is in excess of 1.2 billion barrels of oil equivalent. And of course, 10 Oil, a further oil production business that is vastly rich in gas. Our healthcare business investment done through Avon HMO and Avon Medical. And our real estate and hospitality investment is huge on the continent. Transfer Hotel PLC, for those who have been to Abuja, you probably have stayed at the Transfer Hotel during your stay. And of course, Afroland PLC helps to anchor our end-to-end real estate development company. So we have spent quite a lot of time and investment in the business sector, and we've been doing this for decades. But there comes a time that you begin to think beyond business successes and think of other areas. Having achieved so much in business, in 2010, I thought it was important to begin to think about impact, sustainability, legacy, as well as improving lives and playing my own role toward the transformation of Africa. I have done well, but I knew I had been lucky. I wanted to spread both my experience, my lessons, but also to spread luck and to democratize and institutionalize luck. That is why in 2010, I founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, the leading philanthropy that empowers young African entrepreneurs from across the 54 countries on the African continent. I seeded $100 million from my family wealth through the health holdings to the foundation. In 2015, we began the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program, an audacious 10-year program to empower 1,000 young entrepreneurs annually from across the 54 countries in Africa. Our Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program beneficiaries received $5,000 non-refundable seed capital for their nascent business ideas. We need to encourage these young entrepreneurs who have outstanding business ideas but lack the financing to prove their concepts. Business training in the form of an intensive 12-week mini MBA, the boss will call it, focused directly on our operating environment. Business mentoring from professionals and leaders across the globe. Learning further from professionals and senior entrepreneurs is crucial for our young business leaders. We have seen it in our development in the business world, especially when these mentors are invested in the success of the young ones they are mentoring. We create market access and foster linkages using our online proprietary digital entrepreneurship hub we call EF Connect. EF Connect is the African entrepreneurship hub connecting over 1 million users with each other to trade and collaborate across borders. Indeed, our entire program from application to training, mentoring, and seed capital disbursement occur on TF Connect. Please find time to check out the website tfconnect.com to see the impressive work of the foundation. Through the program, we have supported over 15,000 African entrepreneurs to scale their businesses. We are incredibly proud of the program. We have empowered entrepreneurs across multiple sectors and are a truly sector-agnostic program. We have young and vibrant entrepreneurs who operate in fashion, healthcare, agriculture, education, power, and they all leverage technology to deliver services and transform their communities. We understood the need for partnerships early on when we saw that hundreds of thousands of young Africans were applying for the program, and our commitment was only 1,000 entrepreneurs annually. Such is the demand on the continent. There's no shortage of people with ideas, just a lack of capital willing to give them a chance. Today, through partnerships with global development organizations, such as the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, the National Committee of Red Cross, ICRC, the European Union, the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, and the African Development Bank, we have been able to increase the number of young entrepreneurs we support across the continent. In November, for our 2021 cohort, we were proud to announce that 5,000 young African entrepreneurs were selected as beneficiaries to receive the non-refundable seed capital of $5,000 each, mentorship, and business training of the foundation. We were equally pleased to see that 70% of those selected in 2021 were women, driving gender inclusivity. Our partners have seen the components of our holistic program and decided to work with us towards a shared vision of a more prosperous Africa, an Africa that is able to better utilize its resources for the benefit of the continent. Our most important resource is our people, so we must constantly encourage and support them. And this is true for Jamaica and the Caribbean. This way, we reduce the vices associated with unemployment and large youth populations, such as terrorism, illegal migration, violence, and all forms of extremism. Once we agree that these ills are caused by lack of economic opportunity, the solution becomes clearer. Empower youth and entrepreneurs and help them create jobs and reduce poverty. As an entrepreneur, wealth creation for me came from following my philosophy of Afro-capitalism. We invested long-term in strategic sectors of the economy. In essence, we created wealth, but also social good. Afro-capitalism is all about doing good and doing well. This is what we must preach across Africa and also in the Caribbean. For too long, we have failed to remember the teachings of great black men before us. Men like Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican and true Pan-Africanist who preached unity between Africans and the African diaspora. Pan-Africanists like Marcus Garvey understood the need for close ties between Africa and the diaspora. That is not the case today. We need to reforge these links stronger than they have been in the past. We're in a digital age where we can easily achieve this through focused efforts. We must not relent or give up. We must continue to find ways to collaborate and strengthen opportunities for our people. I call on the public sector to put this collaboration as a key action point from this great conference. A key tenet of Afro-capitalism is the importance of the public sector in supporting the private sector's efforts through the creation of the enabling environment that will support entrepreneurs and their businesses. We must all ensure that the cultural linkages that connect Africa and the diaspora are strengthened and not weakened. In a words of Emperor Haile Selassie. He said on his visit to Jamaica more than 50 years ago, the people of African origin have immigrated to many parts of the world. Some of them have come to Jamaica, others to other parts of the world. But wherever they may be, they have similar historical experiences, and the problems that await them depend on sympathy. And this can be used by all of us as a basis for the establishment of greater cooperation, which will be for our mutual benefit. We have so much to learn from each other. We have so much to learn from one another. Our experiences and knowledge must be harnessed for the upliftment of Africa, the Caribbean, and the diaspora everywhere and anywhere. To conclude, my message to this audience here is this. We must foster collaboration among the African diaspora. No one will develop our communities but us. I want to see close linkages between entrepreneurs in Africa and the Caribbean. I personally offer myself as one of the private sector leaders of Africa, Caribbean in this pursuit. Brothers and sisters, let us join hands to create sustainable wealth and prosperity for all. The greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. You know who said this? Bob Marley. And as Mother Gavi said, the ends you serve that are selfish will take you no further than yourself. But the ends you serve that are for all in common will take you into eternity. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I look forward to being in Jamaica in person. I will now make myself available for conversations. Let's talk from the heart how to foster greater collaboration between Africa and the Caribbean and the role we all have to play as business leaders. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony Elumelu, for that powerful speech. I think, like I said in the opening, it is very timely. If there are questions on the floor, please, the person may go to the podium and ask. I have some questions here. Perhaps we can start with this. You said, Mr. Elumelu, that we need to reforge the link stronger than ever. And you also said that you make yourself available in the pursuit to this end. So what are some of the sectors that Caribbean leaders, we have all the finest Caribbean leaders right here, and even the government leaders, what are some of the sectors in Africa that they can consider for investment?
I think it's both ways. Sectors they can invest in Africa, and also sectors that African business leaders can invest in the Caribbean and Jamaica in particular.
Yes.
So from my remarks, we're in the financial services, we're in energy, from oil, gas to power, we're in healthcare. We are in real estate and hospitality. I think the Caribbean, one of the biggest things that come to mind about I want to visit that part of the world is tourism. So there's huge potential for investment in Africa in that area. And similarly, there's also huge potential for Africans to invest in the Caribbean in the area of tourism. Mm-hmm. I want to see Trasco Hotel, for instance, set up in Jamaica, yes, in Barbados, and other parts there. and see what we can do together. Access to electricity is very important. It's important in Nigeria, in Africa, it's important in the Caribbean. I want to see the private sector, consistent with the philosophy of African capitalism, investing for profit, but more than that, also thinking of social good, see how we can invest either in the Caribbean and Africa in the area of improving access to electricity. Infrastructure development is critical for economic prosperity, for creating employment, for alleviating poverty. And Africa is in need of infrastructure development. Same thing also for the Caribbean. So I want to see a movement a movement that brings the business leaders, not just political leaders, business leaders from Africa and Caribbean together with the support, as I said, one of the tenets of African capitalism is support the private sector and create the public sector and creating the enabling environment for business to do well. If I want to do business in the power sector in the Caribbean, I should be able to get government authorization quickly to start. Same here too. If I want to do any business, the authorization should come very quickly. If I came to Jamaica, I would have been meeting with the governor of Central Bank of Jamaica to talk about how United Bank of Africa can start business in that part of the world. And same here too. So we need to work collaboratively with the private sector. We need to get the support of the public sector, the government institution, to be able to forge and further push this collaboration that we seek of co-investment and between Africa and the Caribbean. And it's about time we did so.
Yes. Thank you so much. We have just about 3 minutes left, but I have a question here from somebody in Ghana. I think they are conferencing it from Ghana. It says, from your experience, sir, what has been the reason behind the biggest challenge of Africans' partnership to grow businesses?
I think for me, what I see, what I advise people about partnership is we need to think long term. We need to forget short term. Most of the people go into partnership, there's misalignment of interest. Some are thinking short term, some are thinking long term. If there's no alignment of interest, you don't both think long term, you can't stay long in that partnership. Honesty is always usually the bedrock of also partnership. But for me, more importantly, is this commonality and alignment of interest. We must both think the same way. I want to do this long term, etc. And I've seen partnerships that have worked in this part of the world. And I've also seen that increasingly the world is beginning to partner with Africa. What we do at the Elumelu Foundation, for instance, is not just all about us. It's us, but the partners I mentioned in my remarks, working together to democratize luck and create different opportunity for people. Partnerships clearly work, and that's the way to economic, my viewpoint, to economic sustainable economic development. What we have in Africa is not enough in terms of resources to power the transformation of the continent, and so we need to partner with others. Our investment firm, SODs, we position ourselves as the go-to partners for investment in Africa. United Bank of Africa is seen as Africa's global bank, helping to intermediate and bring together people who want to invest on the continent, also Africans and that who want to do business in that part of the world. We need partnership, we need collaboration, we need working together to make all of this work.
Wow, thank you so much. There's 1 more minute left. Maybe you can just answer this question and then use the opportunity to quickly give your 30 seconds closing speech. What is your advice for organizations? They are there, the big wigs are there, who would like to invest in social entrepreneur as you continue to do, but have concern that it may negatively impact the bottom line? I think you are best to answer this question.
I think if you look at the philosophy of African capitalism, which we preach, and my remark, I did say that we have succeeded in business because we practice African capitalism. It's the intersection of business and social good. It's about profitability and social good. The more the world we live in today, 21st century, is the genius of man. You have to do both together for sustainability, because there's no reason you want to make only profit. And that for that profit to be sustained and sustainable, you need to think of the larger ecosystem and society. So I believe strongly that the more we bring both together simultaneously and not one waiting for the other, the better even we prosper in business. That's what we do. When we invest in power, we make so much money from investment in power. But equally important, and that's part of the investment, is that we get a lot, we contribute in terms of social good. We help to create access to electricity, power, enable children to do homework, there's easy access to electricity, the hospital can do well because there's electricity, technology can do well because there's electricity, so it's a win-win. And I think that the 21st century, both private sector leaders, government, and development partners of development partners of Africa and the world generally need to embrace social giving as a part of investment that we need to make to prosper humanity, to promote peace in the sustainable fashion in the world. It is not a wrong investment, and it does not really affect the bottom line. It enhances the bottom line. The whole world is moving toward ESG today. We've seen what's happening in the world. During the COVID pandemic, United Bank of Africa invested $15 million trying to support fragile African economies. To some, it can be seen as a loss, but to us, it's a huge investment in the people of Africa, who at the end will help even prosper and grow our business. So the world must begin to change how we see some of these investments. And the rich must invest in others so that collaboratively we can create a peaceful society. And for me, my parting shot is in the words of Bob Marley. I'm calling in my own way that it's in the 21st century, it's not about how much you have in your bank account accounts. It's the impact that you create that makes the difference. And I want to preach that to brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. Let's think a bit less about our purse and bank accounts and more holistically about everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Delegates of the 17th Regional Investment and Capital Markets, you've heard it from Africa's boldest entrepreneur, Mr. Tony Elumelu. Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Elumelu, and thank you, Alex. Mr. Elumelu, certainly later this quarter, before the end of this quarter, our desire is to have you here so that we can further these discussions, which are going to lead to greater insight on our part and partnerships between our countries. So thank you very much. Very insightful presentation, very optimistic, and we look forward to further discussions later this year. Thank you again, Alex, for a well-moderated session. Okay, we need to move on now, and I will introduce our next moderator, who will be moderating the panel discussion on investors and small businesses. And I'll invite Mr. Nigel Coke, Communication, Public Affairs, and Religious Liberty Director of the Jamaica Union Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, to be the moderator for this session.